the funding landscape and the kind of difficulties there that I don't need to go into, but you know, and then also just the economic climate of our customers, I hate the word customers, our members and audiences have less money and things cost us more, and that has recently been just an absolutely massive challenge. Yeah, I think that's probably, and then a personal one for me is like collaboration across Leeds. I think some places really want to be in competition with everyone, and we try really hard to be like mates with everyone and try and want everyone to work together, and I think it's kind of 50-50 whether places want to or not. So I think that's something. And then perception in the local community, I think, just because people, it's armly, and I can say this from here, but like people are like, oh, what fuck's pointing at? And like getting, and also there's just that thing of like, I'm being a bit flippant there, but seriously that thing of we've got 3 food banks in Armley that are all oversubscribed, and then you put a sculpture out there that's cost $8,000 or whatever, and rightly people are like, why did you do that? You know what I mean? And I think I know why I think that's a good thing, and I know why other people think it's a good thing, and I know that we got the money in a fair and a fair way through a process, etc. But I think that's just it's like public perceptions of like of art and what we do and who we are and stuff. And I think when people meet me, sometimes it's that thing of being like, oh God, this artist is here, and then I'm like, I'm from Armley and I've got a Yorkshire accent, and they're like, oh, actually, we thought you'd be like posh and from Oxford. Do you know what I mean, or whatever.
I mean, some of my biggest challenges are technical. So I have a very broad job role here. I do 3 days a week. I'm the programme coordinator officially. And that really means I sort of do whatever needs doing to keep things rolling. So I do fundraising, and I oversee things like the newsletter going out, but I also do the tech for installs and screening evenings, and that has been a learning curve for me. And AV has just got endless possibilities of ways that it can go wrong. And it can go wrong in the middle of an event, so you have to sort of live troubleshoot. And people sort of think it's really a straightforward way of showing work because you plug in a disc and you press play, but somehow it's never quite like that. Really, the biggest challenge is fundraising. Financial, and continually fundraising whilst delivering on funding, and making sure that those things overlap in coherent ways, so you don't have a funding gap, but also making sure that you're not over-promising on delivery. So I think particularly after the pandemic, when we'd had a relatively quiet programme time and we'd been able to write lots of funding bids, our idea of what our capacity would be to deliver whilst continuing to write funding bids was probably slightly skewed. Yeah.
Kind of another issue in itself is that thing of how much people come and use the studio, because I think one of the key benefits of a space like this is community and meeting other people and collaborating and getting to know people, and it's quite easy, and sometimes it's for completely understandable reasons, like sometimes people just get busy and they're not able to come into the studio as often, but obviously the more people are in, the better. So I think it's a challenge to know that whether people come and use the space enough and they're in a lot. I think and you never know that until they get in, and admittedly people's lives change, and there's often not a lot you can do about it. So, and things often sort themselves out, like Lily, the studio just here that's just empty. It was just literally that she just got too busy. She'd just had a kid as well and was like, I'm just not getting the time to come into the studio. And you can notice it, that it's like, oh, Lily's not in as much, which is a shame. And then obviously she just was like, yeah, I'm not using it, so then lets it go. And that's naturally going to happen. But I think that's a thing to be wary of. You kind of think you build it and everyone will just be like, here we all are, it's amazing. And it's actually quite hard to build that up, I think.
The biggest challenge has always been having the right premises, or having a premises, because without that it would be very difficult to provide all the services that we do. So the biggest challenge at the moment for us is trying to guarantee that we can keep the space, so we're trying to do that by buying the building. Because otherwise, even with a 10-year lease, 10 years goes very quickly, and then we would have to start all over again. We have got a 10-year lease, and we've got an option to buy during the first 3 years. But 3 years goes very quickly, so we really need to raise funds.
Look, money and time. For me, it's time. I'm really burnt out at the moment, and I'm going to say it open. You know, we don't get a medal for burnout, and I think as founders and CEOs, we just do it to ourselves, and we're passionate about what we do, but it's got to stop. And so myself. My biggest challenge is time, maybe more than money, because I know I'm a visionary, I guess, and an entrepreneur, and I've got that brightness and I can make anything happen, but I can't when I'm too in it. You know, I need to be more on it at that level, and I've not got there yet. So next year, I've really got to look at the structure of the team again, maybe think about recruitment, what are the gaps, because I don't want to be working these silly hours that I've been working these last 2 years, actually. However, everybody goes to me, oh, you're so calm and resilient. Yeah, I am. I'm the most resilient and professional. You know, nobody would know that I was up till 3 a.m. doing a funding bid. I'm not going to share that with people. They just want to come here and feel safe. You know, so I'm very good at hiding that, but internally, I've been doing too much, as I think any CEO in any sector, and especially in the voluntary sector, will probably say, right? So it's about us doing our own welfare work and boundaries and looking at things.
You're dealing with a grade 2 style listed building. It's very fragile, so every storm that comes along, it's kind of financial challenges is probably always the biggest one. I think it's and you know that you're at the mercy of financially, you're at the mercy of artists being able to pay rents, and I think it's it is a tricky one, and so far we've always, it has always happened, but that, sort of the wider economic circumstance, and I think, there have been some very, very tough times for artists.
And I think especially kind of in terms of, for me, for like programme delivery, fundraising for that, it's a huge amount of people all going for the same pots of money.
People have been the biggest challenge at times. Staff can be, over the years, been a pig in nightmare. You just don't know who you're dealing with sometimes. And you can come into it with the best intentions, but people will still want something more from you than you can give. Time, massive one. Me and Karen were a couple, so yeah, it eats into your life. It's your life. People, biggest challenges, but obviously people are the other side. They make it, otherwise it isn't worth doing. Other challenges, always money. Marketing. Marketing is a nightmare. Getting your message out and telling people what it is you do, not doubting yourself. Doubting yourself is huge, and not feeling like imposter syndrome. Both me and Karen have imposter syndrome, that we're not good enough to do this, and why should we do this? And again, that's really, really tough to battle with. Oh, just the number of times you lose buildings. And you get them, and then you lose them, and then you get them back, and then you get them back, and then you lose them again. Both this building we lost twice, I think, and then got it, and Keighley we've lost once and managed to get it back. Thought we'd lost it again, and now we've got it back again.
Taking ownership over space and staff, I think, is really important. I think because we run a really sort of efficient team, we can often rely on people to be there, and 9 times out of 10 everyone's there. We've had a few things where, because we're an artist, we want to involve staff in their making as well as the job. People will be awarded residencies and things like that, so often that will leave us short gaps. So there's been some challenges in terms of making sure we have the staff here, but it's in service of making sure this is a flexible option for people to be able to pursue their making.
The biggest challenge, I think, it's the time, to have the time to do everything that we need to do. There's never enough time. And to make sure that we are paid for our work and everybody else who works with us is paid for their work. I think that's the main challenge. Everything else we just really enjoy. So yeah, working with people can be challenging, don't get me wrong. You know, supporting artists and different practices, and we don't have a focus on a specific type of practice. So you have artists from all sorts of backgrounds. That can be quite challenging as well, different expectations. Also, as your team grows, managing staff. Gladly, I come from management background within the education, so I've been managing staff within the college setting for over a decade, so it has become handy in this work as well. But I think managing staff and managing our expectations of what can be achieved also is challenging. Yeah. And maybe not that they are not interested, that there is no information, that people don't access information. We are here for a year now, and we often have people come in and saying, wow, I live behind, just around the corner, and I didn't know that you're here. And I'm like, how is this even possible? So that surprises me all the time. We are trying leaflets, online marketing, going to people and chatting. We have such broad spectrum of activities for different ages. I really don't know. I really don't know. People are just busy. I think financial situation in this country is not supporting people like downtime and relaxing time, so they are not actively looking for opportunities and places to go to.
2 weeks after we opened here, we flooded and we had fitted out, so we took 6 months fitting the space out. Opened on winter solstice, 21st of December. Just under 2 weeks later, this place was 1.5 meters deep in water. We were closed for maybe a year. We set this upstairs space up as a resource centre for volunteers who were actually volunteering to help clean up the flood impacted businesses on Kirksall Road. So it was great for like community engagement, but it was rubbish for the development of our artistic space. So we reopened in 2017. We had a pop-up on Kirksall Road, and then we reopened in 2017, and then we had kind of 2.5 years, and then we got the pandemic. I think continuous austerity has been a real impact for us, because obviously people pay for attendance at the workshops and classes and courses and shows and all the rest that we do. So that's been a hassle. Oh God, I just really want to get buildings into community ownership so people don't have this continual cycle of stress and difficult economy.
Finance, 100% finance. Yeah. I mean, we were doing well, we were, doing okay before COVID. We'd not had to borrow money or anything. But yeah, since COVID, it's been finance. And I think cost of living has had a massive, massive impact on us, because it's meant that our artists don't have the money to book the gallery, don't have the money to, maybe pay for a larger studio space. So we've got people that are using desks that are way too small for them because they can't afford to take on a bigger space. And that's like still keeping our hire really, really cheap. We've definitely, COVID as well, because students had to work remotely. We have in the past had pretty much all of April and May student shows, because they'll get together and they'll have like an end of year show together, or like a few of them that have made friends over 3 years will decide to put a show on, or like one person on his own, we had an all group of sort of 5 or 6 people, and I think because students weren't together for 2 years, they didn't get that kind of like bonding thing, so they didn't have the 3 years of physically being in the same space and getting to know each other. Hopefully that will start changing next year, but it's kind of, we've dropped off their radar. So this year we had a student show booked in, but they cancelled. So yeah, I think that's one of the challenges, like financially as well. It's people suddenly realising, oh, actually, you know, there's 4 of us or 5 of us and we can't afford to put 50 quid in each. Whereas like that wasn't an issue at all in the past. And you know, still some people have got money behind them and that they can do it without really blinking. But yeah, money and the amount of time you have to spend on application forms and how that's like Rose, her 1 day a week is generally spent on applications and funding, yeah, and then not getting them. We put in for an Arts Council project grant 3 times. Each time we got different feedback that was kind of quite nonsensical. And it's just like, after that, we were just, can't be bothered to do it again. And it, you know, it might have been the 4th time we got it, but yeah, it's kind of like, you know, you feel like, what's the point? And then we get, from time to time, we'll get like £500, £600 small grants, which is amazing. It's really great. And those usually have been around food related things. So being able to provide the free food and things like that. And we got some money to run an event with the workshops. Hannah and Jasmine, who both are involved here, they managed to get some funding to run this electronic symposium where they had speakers and events and things like that, all to do with electronic music. So we've had like little pots of money, which has really like helped with the sort of programming. But you know, paying our rent went up by £5,000 last year, year before last. Massive difference. You know, it had been that was another, yeah, that was a quarter of our increase.